Hey guys, my name is Bogdan and welcome back to yet another guide. Before I start, let me just say how thankful I am for all the support I've been getting on my Rise guide. I'm really grateful for that. If you haven't seen my Italy guide, go check it out. Link will be in the description. So today I'll be covering Orianna. In short, Orianna is a caster control mage with high AoE and single target burst, AoE CC, and shields. Orianna is quite a tough millionaire, so players that are new to the game should not try to pick her up right away. Other than that, let's get straight into the guide. Let's begin with Orianna's pros and cons. Pros. Orianna has very good damage in the mid to late game, where she is able to one-shot multiple squishies with one combo. Orianna has zone potential in lane, making her a good pick against melee matchups. Along with the zoning comes great poke from her Q, W, and Airy if you take it. She has built-in shield, allowing you to block a few extra auto attacks. Ori has damage, AoE, and ultimate, which if placed right could win you the whole game. Lastly, she's very good to CS with because of her passive and if you buy door answering. Although Orianna is a good, strong champion, she does have a few cons. Firstly, she struggles with mana early game. She's quite weak without items and does very little damage before her first two items, meaning Ludens and Boots. She has no escapes or gap closures, and the most important one is that she's very hard to play. The fact that you have to know where the ball is and to control the ball is very challenging at times. Now let's talk about Orianna's runes and summoner spells. For spells, I always take Flash. It allows for a great escape and a great gap closer when needed, and is overall a good spell for most champions. Second one depends on the matchup. Against assassins, I like to usually take Barrier, just to block a little bit of the burst. Usually against short range mages like Vigar and Rise, I take Ignite, and sometimes TP if the lane is going to be passive. Now let's talk about runes. Into long range matchups like Lux, Azir, and Ahri, I prefer Airy for the extra little bit of shield and poke. While playing into a melee matchup, I like to go Electrocute since it's a lot easier to proc. These are only the two really viable options for Orianna, but if you find any more, let me know. Speaking of matchups, let's talk about those. Orianna stomps short-range mages and immobile assassins like Vladimir, Echo, Akali, Katarina, and Ryze. Orianna gets stomped by mobile assassins like Yasuo, Zed, and Kassadin. She also does very bad against long-range mages such as Vel'Koz, Lux, and LeBlanc. Keep in mind that Orianna is a good counter to Katarina. Even though Kat is a mobile assassin, Ori pokes her out of lane and stops her ultimate channel with her own. Alright, before I talk about Orianna's build, let me just quickly go over her passive and abilities. So Orianna's passive is that every single auto attack applies on hit damage, and it keeps stacking with every single auto attack doing more damage up to 3 times. So as you can see, and it switches on targets. So 6 on hit damage, 7 on hit damage, 8 on hit damage. And then I keep doing 8 on hit damage. As soon as I switch, it goes back to 6. Second part of Orianna's passive is the ball. As you can see, there's a ball above her, and all of her abilities revolve around it. Orianna's Q is that she sends a ball to a targeted direction, just like this. As you can see, she sends her ball. It does have a cooldown. Orianna's W is that her ball moves, and her ball actually does bonus damage, which speeds you up if you walk over it, and actually slows enemies. So as you can see, you can Q, then you press W, and the ball does damage around it. So you can do it instantly just like that, for the ball to do instant damage as soon as it lands. Orianna's E is that she sends a ball all the way to her, doing damage on the path while it's backing, and it shields you. So if the ball is right there, you send it back to you, it shields you, and it does damage. So this allows you for a quick Thunderlord's proc, or Electrocute to be exact. So you do it like that, and then you send the ball back, that's QW, and then E does bonus damage. Orianna's ultimate is that her ball just does damage, stuns, and brings all enemies towards the center of it. So if you put one right here, bam, all of the enemies go towards the center. So the unique thing about this ability is that it can be cast really anywhere, so wherever the ball is. So if the enemy isn't paying attention to it and accidentally walks over it, you can cast it, and then it'll do damage to them and everything around them. This also does damage to minions, so if you want to wave clear, I don't suggest it, but you can. So remember how in the beginning I said that Orianna, you have to pay attention to where the ball is at all times? Well, this is what I'm talking about. So her ball will only return to you if you go extremely out of range, or if you walk over it, or if you press E, right? So this makes things a little bit tricky. So let's say your ball is over there, and then you think it's on you, right? You're not paying too much attention, it's a fight as it jumps in you, so you end up ulting, but you end up ulting where the ball is and not where it's on yourself. So this is why Orianna does take a little bit of practice when you're talking about actually mastering her. So what I usually do to avoid this is I keep my ball on me at all times. So no matter what, I have my ball on me just in case somebody jumps at me. I ult, and the ult happen on myself. So if there's, for example, a Zed jumps onto me, right, my ball is over there, I E, then I ult, and the Zed quickly gets displaced and damaged, right? So this can be done with all abilities, well, except for your Q, right? So if the ball is already on you, you can just press E, or you can just press W for the speed up to get to lane faster, or I don't know, things like that. So a regular combo for Orianna would be a Q, RW. So the reason why that will one-shot enemies, even multiple enemies in the late game. So the reason why you do QRW is because I usually take cheap shot, and the ultimate counts as a cheap shot, I guess. So your W will end up doing bonus damage. So just like that, and that's 1,000, almost 2,000 damage. So with a little bit of magic pen, it will do a lot more. Another cool trick about Orianna is that, let's say there's a low health enemy over here, right? And the ball is all the way over there. By the time, if you just press Q on it, by the time it gets there, it's gonna take way too long. So you want to press E and then Q, because your E travels to you a lot faster than your Q travels. So if you press E on yourself and then you Q, you might have a higher window of them not getting away rather than, and you have a lower window of your ball traveling. So just like that. So practice this a little bit, you know, on minions, I don't know, just to, you know, chase after people faster. So let me just quickly explain to you what you should build for Orianna. This is the most optimal build. Of course, building varies based on the team, the enemy team that you're up against, and how well you're doing. But this is kind of the core and what you should revolve around. So you want to start off with a Doran's Ring and 2 health potions. So the reason why you get Doran's Ring over like Corrupting Pot or just a Sapphire Crystal is because Doran's Ring synergizes with your passive and it allows you to do like an extra 15, maybe 10 to 15 damage to minions on every auto attack, so that will make it a lot easier to use CS. So your first item, always loot and Zeko, unless they have a lot of assassins, like maybe Zed, Rengar, and an Akali, then you might want to rush into Stopwatch. I mean, into Zanya's, but usually you want to go loot and Zeko into Sorcerer's Shoes. That is your core. After that, you start doing damage. So right after that, you have options. So if they have a lot of healing, go Morellonomicon. It gives them grievous wounds and gives you a little bit of damage, extra damage, magic pen, and health. If not, I usually go straight from Ludens and Boots into Leandri's Torment. It's just a lot of percent max health as damage, and a lot of just also health in general. The next thing you want to do is usually third item. Try to go for Rabadon's Death Cap, since its recent buff, well, in the Mage patch buff, where it actually gives you 40% bonus ability power. It is really useful to get it early on in the game, just because it's a huge power spike. So from Luden's, Boots, Leandri's, and Death Cap as your third item, you're gonna be one-shotting every single enemy you see. After that, it really depends. You then have, what, 2 more options? 1, 2. No, yeah, you have 2 more options for items, so you can go really anything. If you really need damage and your team has enough tanks, go for Void Staff. If they have a lot of damage in terms of physical damage, like assassins, you go Zanya's. Magic damage, you go Banshee's Veil. This is just kind of a random thing, Shirelia's. It's like, it's not bad, right? If you need a little bit of more team fighting potential as your team, this will give you a little bit of AP, health, mana regen, and a little speed boost to your whole team. And Morales Crystal Scepter is the last option. This is when you want some damage, but you also want a little bit of tankiness and kiting potential. So this is another good option as your 5th or maybe last item. Alright, so that concludes the build. That is the most optimal build in my opinion for Orianna. So that does conclude my Orianna guide. Thanks everyone for watching. I hope you learned something. If there's anything I missed, please ask in the comment section down below. I will answer it. Leave a like, subscribe, and peace.